Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and it looks like we got a lot of information from Blizzard on patch 9.0.5, which actually should be happening very soon. I've got a lot of videos coming out for this brand new patch, and there's a lot of changes on their way. Most likely there's going to be even more changes added to PTR before it is finally released. In this video, I do want to take a look at some of the class changes, primarily the Covenant changes that some classes are getting, in order to see where Blizzard is going with some of the changes, which Covenants are looking to buff up, because some underrepresented Covenants are definitely getting much needed love, and some of these changes are actually looking quite impactful. I wonder if any of these changes will be enough to get some people to reroll to the Covenant they really want to play, but maybe they just couldn't because it just doesn't do nearly that much damage. But you love the Mog, you love the ability, but you just don't want to be bottom of the DPS charts. So let's take a look at some of the Covenant changes that have happened so far on the PTR. First of all, if you are a Necrolord, the Fleshcraft ability has gotten updated. The Fleshcraft ability will still provide a shield, but it will have a baked-in cooldown reduction if you absorb souls. So that part is interesting, but the most interesting part about this, the change to Fleshcraft, is now while channeling, you take 30% reduced damage. This has massive impact on how Necrolord might be playing in the future if this stays throughout PTR. Not only do you get shorter cooldown reduction on this, but now it becomes a viable defensive, easily used in PvE situations to dampen the amount of damage you'll take, and can actually have some uses in PvP as well. I can already imagine tanks utilizing this after slaying a trashback and then consuming the souls of those trashbacks while taking active damage in order to reduce the cooldown of this ability even further. That's a pretty massive change that everybody of Necrolord Covenant is getting as long as this makes it through the PTR. While we're on the topic of Maldraxxi, let's talk about Warrior, because the Conqueror's Banner ability just hasn't been good. Until now. They ended up changing Conqueror's Banner so it no longer has any kind of delayed effects or a stacking effect where you need to afterwards place the banner. First of all, you put the banner on your back, and the effects of the banner activate immediately. Cooldown reduced from 3 minutes to 2, duration of 15 seconds, and it gives you 500 mastery. At least that's the tooltip on Wowhead, 400 in game right now, but that's still a lot of points of mastery for your character. Also prevents you from being dropped to 100% movement speed and gives you 30% movement speed. This buff is also provided to 2 nearby allies that are near the warrior. Also, it generates 4 rage a second. That's a lot of rage generation, quite a big amount of mastery, which is beneficial for fury, arms, and even protection. 30% of movement and denial of slows, which gives you ability to dodge mechanics, whether it be from adds or maybe from those pesky mages you're chasing in PvP. The rage generation of constant for every single second gives you quite a bit of rage over 15 seconds of this ability being up. This version of the banner is a massive improvement to the original. It's still too early to tell how good this is going to be, but I think it definitely is looking a lot more promising. And for any of you warriors that wanted to go Maldraxxi for that sweet Mog but couldn't, I think this change could potentially justify it as long as it makes it this way as is through PTR. Next we have Hunter's Flayshot from the Venthyr Covenant. Venthyr isn't really a popular choice for hunters, and not a lot of players end up going Venthyr because the other options are better, so Blizzard is trying to buff up Flayshot, making it do more damage over a longer period of time, so more damage over now 18 seconds instead of 14. And it still gives you the procs for kill shots, but now those kill shot procs do 25% more damage. They also removed the focus cost of this ability, so you can basically press it every 30 seconds for a decent damage over time, with a chance for your kill shots to be procced and do more damage. Kill shot being quite a bit of hunter damage that usually is good during execute. So this is an interesting change that actually buffs the damage output of Flayshot and could potentially make it a bit more competitive, maybe in PvP situations when you're looking for that bursty setup with your kill shots, or maybe in PvE for pure single target fights. With all the other bonuses that the Venthyr Covenant offers, I think this buff to Flayshot could have some potential. The Hunter of Maldraxxian variety also got buffed with Death Chakram, doing slightly more damage. But combined together with the defensive benefit of Fleshcraft and the cooldown reduction aspects of it, it could potentially become a decent option for hunters looking for PvP or looking for more survivability. We also saw a buff for the Maldraxxian druids with Adaptive Swarm ability. Adaptive Swarm is being buffed to do more damage as well as more healing over 12 seconds. It also now increases the dot damage and the healing over time effects on an ally by 25% instead of 20%. So that's a 5% damage increase for all of your damage over time abilities. I've always wondered if there's a possibility for a very dot heavy playstyle for Boomkins as well as Pharaohs, because we even have legendaries that allow our dots to tick out faster. And potentially with this buff, you could combine maybe a legendary, if this comes out as it is on PTR, for a Maldraxian druid to actually have some footing. I don't think this will be enough to become a best in slot covenant, but I do think they did increase quite a bit of power on it, and this could be something interesting in the future. Kyrian Shaman Vesper Totem ability also saw a buff, a simple damage increase and healing increase. I don't think this is going to make it best in slot, but it might be pretty good for players that want to play multiple specs, sometimes healing, sometimes doing damage, as it does have that versatility behind this ability. Maybe the damage increase combined together with some of the other bonuses that Kyrian offer could make Shaman Kyrian a more appealing choice. We also saw the Night Fae Shaman get buffed as well. The damage aspect of Fate Transfusion has been increased quite a bit, and it now will do quite a bit more healing as well based off the damage. So again, could be maybe somewhat decent for Enhancement Shamans, LA Shamans, or maybe those that want to play hybrid, as Fate Transfusion does offer a little bit of that option. If you are a Kyrian Mage, you'll be happy to know that Radiant Spark damage and damage over time has also been buffed quite a bit. It should be a little bit better of an ability, as it did feel a little behind in the actual damage department, but of course it always had this crazy overpowered usage for PvP. We also saw a buff to mages once more, primarily in the Necrolord variety, as Deathburn will now last for 25 seconds, which is a 5-second upgrade from the original version, and your basic abilities like Frostbolt, Fireball, and Arcane Blast will now do 15% more damage instead of 10. Quite a nice buff for anybody who's playing the Maldraxian Mage Necrolord. Together with the Fleshcraft buff offering a more defensive option, this could potentially be decent in the future. Hopefully you're not tired of mages, because arcane mages of the Venthyr variety did get a change to the Mirrors of Torment, where whenever mirror is expelled, it will now provide you clear casting instead of mana. And for fire mages, it'll give you 6 seconds off of your Fire Blast cooldown instead of 4. So this does make it a little bit more appealing for arcane and maybe a bit more for fire. It does seem like every other covenant for mages except for the Night Fae has been buffed, since a lot of mages are playing Night Fae. So if you have a different flavor choice rather than the fairies, you might be able to pick up some different options in the future patch. Speaking about fairies, we have Shadow Priest and the Night Fae Covenant getting a buff, even though that became a new meta just recently. But the Fae Guardian's ability never really felt super good to pick up. You really picked it up for other bonuses like the Mastery as well as a Legendary. But now the Fae Guardians will now provide you extra damage reduction from the Guardian Fairy to 15% rather than 10, and the cooldown reduction is actually 150%, which is quite strong. I mean, just look at the cooldown reduction of my Void Eruption, it seems pretty quick. So maybe we'll see a lot more Shadow Priest, Disc Priest, and Holy Priest as Night Fae. The Venthyr Warlock ability Impending Catastrophe also took a buff. It does slightly more damage on impact and slightly more damage with the damage over time. This ability has always been one of the coolest visually, but it never really lived up to the Impending Catastrophe play. So hopefully with this damage buff combined together with some of the much sought after Venthyr Soulbinds, for certain warlocks this could be a potential option going forward. For any Maldraxi Necrolord paladins, they changed the ability of Vanquisher's Hammer to be slightly different. No damage differences, now it generates holy power. This ability was never really all that strong in the past, and maybe with some of the Maldraxi Necrolord changes with the ability of Fleshcraft, providing an extra defensive bonus for sometimes a very immobile class, this could potentially be a decent cooldown to use. And with Vanquisher's Hammer actually generating holy power, it might be a decent ability for paladins to use in between your rotation, because it actually has some overuse. But we're not seeing any damage buffs like the other classes or abilities. I wonder how popular this will be in the future, but maybe future buffs ahead. Kyrian Death Knights are seeing a buff to Shackle the Unworthy. The ability is now going to be slightly different. It'll instead reduce the target's damage to you by 8% instead of 5%, and it'll do considerably more damage over time. This could potentially be good for a lot more Death Knights, as for every single spec in the game, none of the Covenants are looking really all that bad, but the Kyrians somehow lag behind. So this could potentially make it a lot better going forward. Finally, we have Demon Hunters and their Maldraxi Necrolord power. This one, I actually have a really long clip for you to see exactly what the proc is like. Fodder to the Flame ability has been completely changed, and it now functions completely differently. So the way Fodder to the Flame works now is it's a passive. You have a chance on your ability usage to spawn a demon to rush headstrong at you. The demon will start attacking you like normal, and it doesn't really seem to do too much damage to you. The ability of Throw Glaive should be a lethal ability to the demon, as in it should basically one-shot it or get it really, really close to one-shot. And I think that's kind of what Blizzard is trying to do, is to make this demon one-shottable. Upon demon's death, they explode, doing a little bit of shadow damage and healing you for 25% of your overall health. You also gain the spirit of the demon, the soul, and demon hunters in Legion, they did this a lot. Every time they slayed a demon, they would consume their soul. If you consume the demon's soul rather than any other soul, you had your damage increased by 25%. So demon hunters are actually getting the same bonus from the demons that they slay, regularly giving them demons on a proc chance that rush at them, that will try to fight them, and inevitably die to the ability of Throw Glaive. I wanted to test just how often this ability procs, so I have this full clip of me just slaying some random mobs inside of Ardenweald, and you can kind of see just how often it procs. Sometimes these demons spawn far, sometimes they spawn close. Most of them die through a one-shot of Throw Glaive, but most of them at least die fairly quickly, if anything. They do heal me for quite a lot, and they do give me this damage buff for consuming a demon's soul. And they also do quite a bit of damage. It also says in the ability that damage will do AoE damage, and it'll start being dropped off at more than 5 targets, but it technically has no target cap. I think Blizzard really wanted to allow Maldraxian demon hunters a little bit more of a play, because Night Fae actually is kind of usable. Kyrian with Vengeance, absolutely best in slot. Even Ventir have some unique niche playstyle to it, but Fodder to the Flame and the Necrolord never really seemed all that strong. Constant spawning demons, which felt like we were spawning maybe every 30 seconds while I'm in combat, gives you quite a bit of damage increase, quite a bit of healing, 25% of your health, and also quite a bit of damage in AoE, which is a very, 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 very interesting change to this ability. I'm pretty sure this one is going to go through many iterations forward, but this is the current version of it so far. And I really wanted for you guys to watch this full clip to see just how often it procs, how much damage it does, how much healing it does, for you to decide if this looks good at all, as I'm still not really sure exactly where to pin it, so enjoy the rest of this clip. And that's going to be all the changes we have on PTR for all of the Covenant class abilities. Now, there's probably going to be a lot more of them, and I'll make updated videos on any of the class Covenant updates that we'll get in the future. But I want to hear you guys' comments down below. What do you think about these changes so far? I doubt that this is a finalized product of the PTR, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more class changes, as well as the Covenant changes themselves, and maybe even soulbinds getting adjusted. I got a lot more PTR videos to show you guys in the future, but for now, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.